World. This is Ashley Campbell, Daily Encouragement, and I figured I would jump on here while I'm getting stuff set up. I'm getting ready to record a podcast, you guys. I know I'm doing it on Tuesday. I normally do it on Wednesdays. My husband is going to be off work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so he's going to have those days off. So I'm going to be hanging out with him and the kids. We're just going to be at home. He's going to help me. He's going to change the oil on my truck, show me how to do that, probably do yard work, do stuff around here, hang out as a family. But so I will not be going live anymore this week after today. So today is going to be kind of a long video, you guys. So I'm going to see if anybody jumps on here with me this morning. And I'm going to talk to you guys today about how I got involved, me and my husband, with home church. You guys, over 2,000 people have joined this page in the last 2 weeks. That is really incredible. That is all the Lord, man. Seriously. Really grateful that he's brought you guys here. And I figured since there are so many new people, I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of my story as far as how me and my husband got involved with that. I want to piggyback off a video that I did last Friday. I didn't get to finish that video because we had other things we were talking about, but digging a little bit about the purpose of trials and then asking the question about believing God. Have you ever struggled to believe God? What gets in the way? I'm going to be reading day 91 of my devotional. So you guys can, hear a little bit of that. We'll dig into that topic a little bit. And that way, if you do have the book, you can follow along on day 91. You can join in and ask some questions or whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up some links, see if anybody else joins me, you guys, and we're going to get in this conversation. Good morning, Tammy. Thank you for joining me this morning. What a great time to wake up on my birthday. God is good. And then ask him a question. I believe in God. Have you ever... I don't have you ever way. I don't think you meant to put that on there, Tammy. But if it is your birthday, happy birthday. That is awesome. I hope you have a good day today, lady. But all right, let me go ahead and get the rest of these links up, you guys. I'm just giving this a second, another minute or two to see if anybody's going to jump on here with me. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about how me and my husband got involved with home church. We're going to talk about trials, and we're going to talk about believing God. Have you guys ever struggled to believe God? I certainly have at different times in my life. And I want to talk to you guys, sharing from my book, some things that I've come to realize and understand. And I hope it'll give you guys some encouragement as well. I want you guys to know that I'm a human being and you can connect with me on a human level. I want to talk to you guys about real things. And so that is kind of my purpose in doing daily encouragement, sharing from the soil of my own life, the things I've been through, the things that the Lord has brought into my life that have helped me, and being able to share this stuff with you guys. So anyway, I think we're ready to roll here. I think we got everybody on here who's going to be on here. Oh, your words got stuck with mine. Sorry. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, Tammy, thanks for joining me. Anybody else who's on here with me today. So let me go ahead, get going on this Wisdom app really quick, you guys. Get going on the podcast. So you guys are going to have to bear with me. I'm going to have to, after 30 minutes, I'm going to have to start another segment. I can only do 30 minutes at a time. And I know this conversation is going to go over 30 minutes. So you guys, if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, just go back and watch the replay. Okay. And thank you guys for all the sharing of the videos that you guys have done. I'm super grateful for every single one of you. So, all right, we're going to get on wisdom. We're going to get on the podcast. We're going to get going, you guys. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. What is up, you wonderful, fantastic, beautiful people of the world? This is Ashley Campbell, Daily Encouragement. By the time you guys hear this podcast episode, check this out. It'll be October 18th, 2023. Holy moly, you guys. That is my daughter's birthday. She's going to be 15. Oh my gosh. Crazy, crazy, crazy. My birthday is going to be October 22nd. Lots of birthdays in my family in October. We've got 4 birthdays, 3 of my kids plus mine. So anyway, today, you guys, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how me and my husband got involved with home church. We're going to talk about the purpose of trials and really believe in God. And have any of you ever struggled to believe God? I'm going to be reading day 91 for my devotional at the very end of this. I'm going to be sharing some links with you guys if you want to purchase a signed copy from me. I got 4 left. But we're going to be talking about a lot today. So I hope you guys got some time. If you don't, that's fine. Remember to, rewatch the replays, re-listen to the podcast, you guys. And thank God for every single one of you guys that actually take the time to listen to what I got to say. I really hope and pray it adds value to your life. So the first thing, let's talk about home church. My husband and I have been doing home church ever since, I'm going to say, I think it was November of 2014. So how many years has it been? Like 9 already? 8 or 9 was 2023. I can't believe how much time it's been. It's been 9 years we've been doing this thing. So you might be asking, why do you do home church, Ashley? A lot of people associate home church with people who are church hurt or people who don't want to be around people, or a lot of whatever. And I'm going to do my best in this video to try to cut through the red tape and the assumptions that other people might have of us. And I want you guys to at least understand our story a little bit so you can know who you're following on here. So my husband and I met him when I was 15. I told you guys that. We were together. I met him 1 month before he turned 16. I was 15. 9 months later, got pregnant, had our first baby when we were 16. Our oldest now, he just turned 21 in June. Okay. He is the same father of all 7 of my children. Just in case anybody on here is wondering, wow, she's got 7 kids. Is it all the same father? Yeah. You know, it's crazy. I do get that when I go into the grocery store, right? Oh, these are all your kids? Yeah. And I have to say, yeah, they all have the same dad too. Isn't that amazing? It's not crazy that you even have to make that disclaimer these days, but you do. You know, my mom couldn't say that. My mom had 5 kids, 5 different dads. So, hey, I understand why people ask the question. I digress. So, me and my husband, you know, we had our first baby when we were 16. 4 years later, had another baby. Well, in between that time, I'm going to say probably about 2006. My mom ended up getting liver cirrhosis, passing away, liver and kidney failure. All right. My mom was a hardcore alcoholic. That's a whole nother conversation. We're not going to dig into all that today, but basically that's what took her out. Well, I had always wanted to follow the Lord ever since I was 5 years old. But my mom was conscious of God, but she was not consciously following him. And she was not consciously making her decisions based off the knowledge of God. All right. And neither was my husband's parents. All right. His parents were nothing like my mom and dad, completely 2 different families. But, you know, his mom was the one that was following the Lord. His dad wasn't. So, you know, neither of us really grew up in an environment that cultivated the knowledge of God. And like I said, basing your life and your life decisions off the knowledge of God. Neither one of us had that in our homes. But, you know, I knew who the Lord was. My mom would talk to me about the Lord, and I wanted to follow him ever since I was super young. Got baptized when I was 10 because I wanted Jesus to forgive me. I wanted to follow him. I wanted to be forgiven of the sins because I knew that I had done some bad things even when I was 10 years old. And so I wanted to follow the Lord, got baptized with my best friend when I was 10, and then ended up moving out of the neighborhood that I had, you know, of the girl that I had been with and got baptized with. So, you know, basically there was like a 10-year gap, you know, where I was not, you know, conscious of the Lord so much anymore. I knew he was there, but I wasn't following him after we moved out of that neighborhood. So finally in 2006, my mom passed away. And I remember getting out of the hospital and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, Lord, I wonder if my mom still would have been alive if I would have prayed for her, you know? And I remember just thinking, man, Lord, like, where the heck have I been? Like, there's been a lot of life that's happened these last 10 years. And, you know, I remember finally, I just got in my living room one day. I was 19. Me and my husband had been on our own since we were 17. It was 1 month before I graduated high school. We got our first apartment. So we were feeling pretty badass, you know, as young people having our crap together. Anyway, so I was 19 in my apartment. My husband went to work and I got down on my knees and I said, Lord, if I was to die, I don't even know where I'm going. You know, I don't know where I've been, Lord, but you know, I want to get back following you. And so, you know, I just got ignited again. You know, it was like a propane tank. And, you know, that's a whole nother conversation too. My husband, he'd been, he was the same age, 19. He had been hanging out with the neighbor and we were having a barbecue with a woman. I think I was working. I was working. I used to work the swing shift. So he would work, you know, 6 to 2 or whatever. And then I would work 2:30 to 10:30 at the nursing home. So I was at work. He was at the neighbor's house. They were barbecuing and drinking some beers together. And his buddy looks at him and he goes, you know what God wants you to do? My husband's like, what? He goes, just read his word. It was like, wow, how simple and profound, right? But my husband had already been thinking about the Lord. He'd known the Lord since he was really young too. He's got a story where he would pray. He was like 5 or 6. And he'd be like, hey, God, he would give God his address and zip code. This is Scott down here, this or that. Anyway, Scott's got a lot of good stories he could tell you guys about him, you know, wanting to seek the Lord out. But anyway, so my husband comes home. He starts talking to me about the Lord again. I'm getting ignited. And it was funny, you know, really quick story. When me and my husband met each other, right? We're 15. We're riding bikes together. I was 15. He was 16. Like I said, I met him a month before he turned 16. We were riding bikes and it was late at night and I was looking up at the stars and I had this thought cross my mind. And I asked him, I said, Scott, I asked him about, what question did I ask him? Like, do you believe in God or something like that? Or, you know, following God. And he said, yes. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We never ever started seeking the Lord again until we were 21. So I asked him that question when we were 15, 16. And then 6 years down the road, God dumped some gasoline on us. All right. So anyway, this has been in our blood. And really, it's in every human being who wants to know the Lord. It's there. You just got to acknowledge it and ignite it and get around people who are going to feel you. Anyway, I digress. So anyway, me and my husband, we start following the Lord. We start praying together. We start reading the Bible. I'm reading the Bible every single day, every morning. You guys, when I knelt down in my living room when I was 19 and I started reading God's word, I've been reading it every single day since then. And you guys, I'm going to be 38 in October. Okay. So I meant it. And because I was ready, I wanted to, I remember my first question when I started following the Lord was, Lord, like, what does it really mean to follow you? Because a lot of people say they know you, but what's the real distinction here? Right? Like, and so I read Matthew 6 and he said, don't worry about your life. And it was a game changer. I said, all right, Lord, if all I got to do is give you my life, I'll follow you and you take care of me. And that was it. That was it. I literally read God's word and took him for what he said. And we'll get into that too, probably one day, as far as like, the simplicity of reading God's word, believing it, integrating it. And I'm sure that's going to come up today at the end of this video. But anyway, so me and my husband reading God's word, start putting things into practice, throwing our bongs out. Anybody ever smoked pot when they were teenagers? Oh my gosh, me and my husband did so much. So we're throwing out our bongs. We're like we're laying things down. We're seeking the Lord. We're doing our best to follow him in our capacity and whatever. Heck, we'd even pick it back up. Anybody ever throw a habit down and pick it right back up? Totally, you guys. Anybody ever sit there, get stoned, and talk to God at the same time? I totally used to do that. One thing I always knew about the Lord, he was never going to leave me. I brought him with me through so much of my shame, you guys. Seriously. That's the kind of relationship I have with the Lord. I always knew he was going to be there. I could be high as a kite, smoking so much weed when I was 18 or 19, 20. But guess what? I didn't let that get in the way. Eventually, that fell off of me. It really did. But it was a process. And I say that because, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that got habits in their life and they're like, dude, I'm trying to throw things out and I can't let it go. Well, bring God into the situation. He'll help you. Eventually you'll have the desire as you're walking through it and eventually it'll be gone, but you have to continually seek him no matter what state you're in. And that's what I did. I'm like, I don't care what state I'm in, God, I'm conscious of you. I know you're here with me and I know you're going to help me through this thing. So that's the kind of relationship I got with the Lord. I know that I can go to him in any state. He's going to be there. He's going to help me. And he has. Anyway, so we start seeking the Lord. And finally I was like, babe, I want to try to get around people. And you guys, if my phone dies on Wisdom app, I apologize. It's super low right now. I wish I had a charger plugged into my computer, but I don't. So if I lose you guys on here, I apologize. So if it just dies, it's just my phone died. So anyway, I remember thinking, Lord, I really want to get around people who are following you. Like, I want to get around a community of people who are seeking you, that I can talk to about this stuff. I'm learning things I'm doing in my life and things, so I can be with other Christians, learn from them. Like, what is this? I wanted to be around other people who have the same mindset as far as like, hey, are you following Jesus? Okay. Yeah, me too. And so anyway, we started praying about a church, get involved. And this guy that my husband's working with, talks to him because my husband and this guy were just talking. My husband used to load roofs for a living, you guys. And this guy that he was loading roofs with, they were just having a conversation, talking about the Lord. And he goes, dude, you totally love my pastor. You sound just like him, this and that. You should come to my church. So we get invited to his church. We go into the parking lot and it's like in a strip mall. And there's like a Catholic church, a coffee shop, and it's Catholic services, a coffee shop and something else. And I was like, babe, what the heck is this? I'm not trying to go to no Catholic church. And you guys, I got some stories I could tell you from that. My mom's own experience that she had in the Catholic church. I'm actually writing another book right now talking about it. That'll be really good. I can't wait so you guys can read it. But my mom had some pretty crazy experiences in the Catholic church. She told me about it. So therefore I was like, I do not want to go into a Catholic church. I have no desire. So we get there. He calls his buddy. He goes, hey man, is your church like this Catholic church? He's like, no, dude, it's at the coffee shop. I was like, well, that's really awesome. Okay. That's completely out of the box. So, going to this coffee shop, the pastor's got jeans on, a freaking, ball cap, playing electric guitar, and they just started during worship. I was like, wow. And it was really real. Like the songs they were singing, it was like, have you ever heard a worship song that really connects with you? It's like, it's coming from your heart. These were real people. And I was like, because that was the other thing. I remember telling the Lord, I do not want to go into a church and have to worry about what I'm wearing. Right. I had grown up with a friend of mine. I can't remember what church her mom was a part of, but I think she was a Mennonite, the ones that got to wear the dresses up to the neck, all the way down to the ankles in the summertime. And my mom let me wear bathing suits. I had like a one-piece bathing suit as a kid. She couldn't even wear a bathing suit. It'd be 90 degrees. And it was so funny. She talked to me as a kid. She's like, Ashley, I can't wait till I'm a teenager. I'm going to wear whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. And looking back at that now, I'm like, oh, Lord, I wonder what happened with her. But anyway, so, I didn't want to have to be controlled like that. Right. So getting to this church, totally not the usual environment. And I was completely happy with that. I walked in there, people in there with their jeans, their t-shirts, drinking coffee, having a conversation, very casual atmosphere. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what I was praying for, Lord. Well, guess what? We were at that church for almost 10 years. First church I was ever a part of in my entire life, you guys. I became extremely connected with these people. I ended up, I shared with you guys at some point after, I think it was maybe 5 years, me and my husband had been there. We were at their mercy, needing help from them, staying. Remember I told you guys about the duplex. Did you guys hear that story? The church had bought a duplex and there were 6 rooms in it. We all went in there one night, prayed over the whole thing. We all went in separate rooms. I ended up praying in this room that whoever was going to be in that room, God would restore their lives. He would use their life in a powerful way. Huge prayers. Well, guess who ends up in that bedroom? This girl right here. Me and my husband and our 3 kids at the time. One little rink-a-dink bedroom, you guys. We had a bedroom in there, a dresser, a crib, and a bunk bed. I had like this much space to get dressed. And it was one room, all 5 of us in one bedroom at this duplex. And I told you guys a little bit of that story. We were there for 9 months. And then we tried to get on our feet again, fell back on our face. That's a whole nother story. Ended up back on someone else's property from the church. We were there for 18 months in an 18-foot travel trailer. And at the time I had 4 kids, a newborn baby living in an 18-foot travel trailer. So we were very intimately involved in the lives of these people that we had come to know and connect with. Well, what happened is in the very beginning, probably the first maybe year or 2 we were there, we had church at our friend's house, right? That's where we used to meet. We had the coffee shop, and then the pastor ended up moving up north. The coffee shop got shut down. So then we needed a new place to have church. So then we started having it at my friend's house. Well, she wasn't my friend at the time. She became my best friend. But so they're having church at her house. And I remember one day we get there and the pastor's brother is going to do a sermon. So he gets up there, takes out a can of chew, right? Sitting there just packing it, puts a fat dip in. And I was like, well, that's one hell of a way to start a sermon. Okay. Didn't think anything of it, right? I'm like, okay, the guy's chewing. I mean, I'm not a super judgmental Christian, you guys. I'm not going to go in there and be like, oh my God, he smokes cigarettes. He's chewing. I told you guys, I smoked so much pot when I was a teenager, and that's a whole nother story. So who the hell am I going to sit there and judge somebody else when I know when I understand my own process of things in my life and things that I've put on and threw off and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, whatever, dude, do you you're going to figure it out. If that's something you need to throw down, you'll throw it down, right? It's not my responsibility. Anyway, so he gets up there. He looks at all of us and he goes, shame on you guys. And we're like, I'm super confused at this point. I've only been going to the church. This was like maybe my 2nd year at the time. And I'm like, what is he talking about? What did we do? He goes, I'm sitting up here and I'm struggling with this. And you guys didn't say anything to me. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even know who this guy is. I didn't even know he was struggling with it. I didn't know it was something he wanted us to be held. He wanted us to hold him accountable on. So I was like, holy crap. So everyone in the church gets down on their knees and just crying out to God for God to forgive us for not being a good brother or sister, not helping our brother, right? We're like, Lord, like we had no idea. So he's asking for accountability, right? Okay, cool. So probably 9 months to a year goes by. Probably year number 3 in the church. My husband noticed he starts chewing again. So my husband was like, hey, so-and-so, man. He's like, I remember that you did that sermon. How you doing with that? My husband was not condemning him for it. He was just doing what was asked of him. If you're going to get up there and humiliate a whole church for not holding you accountable, you're damn right you're going to be held accountable at some point, right? I mean, isn't that what repentance is? Lord, if that's what he needed and and we weren't there, we're going to do that for him, right? So my husband does that. And he goes, oh, things change. And that was it. So I was like, okay. I didn't care that he started chewing again. I was frustrated that he humiliated the whole church and never went back and apologized to anybody for that. I go, how do you make a public humiliation and then not make a public apology? I was so confused by that. I was frustrated and I was hurt. I was like, wait a second, we did what you asked us to do, and then this happens. So, okay, fine, whatever. Things change, people make different decisions. I understand that. I totally do. So now we're probably about 5 years into this thing, maybe 6. Have small groups. Been I'm part of a small group for probably 5 or 6 years. The whole time I was there, pretty much. And then my small group leader ends up moving. They were going to give the small group to me and her sister. Well, one day somebody makes an executive decision and decides to throw everybody in the same group. So we had different small groups. So we had the church, right? But then everybody, there was like different people who met up with different age groups, right? Or just whoever you connected with, right? So everybody would break off, Thursdays we would all meet in our little groups. And then, of course, we did all kinds of stuff together in between time. But anyway, finally they decided they weren't going to do that anymore. We were going to put all the women in one group and all the men in another group. Well, that was a huge shock to us because there was some things that were going on that needed to be talked about. And I was like, oh God, how is this going to go for everybody, right? Because I knew that there was tension in a lot of relationships and they weren't very good at dealing with it. Okay. So I'm like, oh God, this is going to be interesting, right? So anyway, they throw everybody into the same groups. Well, I'm frustrated about that because, now it's like, now we got to start all over again. And anyway, so one night we're all sitting in this room together, probably about 14 of us. And the small group leader asked me, now this is the wife of the brother who took the big fat dip and never apologized, right? So now his wife is running the women's group, the large women's group now. And she goes, how you doing, Ashley? What's God doing in your life? That's what we always ask each other. I love that question, right? We'd meet together, ask each other, what's God doing in your life? You guys helped me grow so much. And I still do a small group to this day because I definitely recognize the value in it. But anyway, so she goes, Ashley, how you doing? I said, I am struggling. I said, I've been here for probably 5 or 6 years now. I've seen these different dynamics going on. And she goes, well, Ashley, church is like a marriage. I said, yeah, you're right. It is like a marriage, right? I said, but in my marriage, we actually deal with problems that we're having and we talk about things. And I don't see that happening here. We don't talk about things and deal with things. In this church, if you were to go to your brother, you know how Jesus says if you have an offense with somebody, you're supposed to go talk to him? Well, if you were to do that here, if I was to go to you and say, I'm really struggling with this, instead of them listening to you, they would say, because you have a problem with me, that means you're offended. And that means you're the one that's in sin because you're offended. So you would be like, I'm so confused right now Because if my husband did or said something that hurt me, I would go talk to him about it and try to get some understanding as to where he's coming from or what was going on, get some more insight and understanding, information, whatever, and we could squash it. But here that didn't happen. Right now, mind you, I'm 6 years into this thing and I'm starting to see some things and I'm just like, something just ain't right here. Anyway, so she goes, church is like a marriage. She goes, look, Ashley, she goes, like in my marriage, my husband has done things that I've been very frustrated about, but there was nothing I could do about it. She goes, like with him chewing and stuff. And I said, it is so funny that you bring that up. I said, because that is one of the things I've been extremely frustrated about the last, few years. Your husband humiliated the church and told us that we weren't doing our job by holding him accountable. And he never apologized for that. I said, I don't care if he's chewing. I just don't understand how a leader can't make a public apology if necessary. If you humiliate a whole group of people publicly, you should go back and apologize. Well, let's just say she was definitely not expecting that. She was very shocked in a way, right? Well, we've tried to talk to him about it. Nobody's listening, right? So then all of a sudden, her daughter-in-law is sitting next to me and she goes, well, yeah, you know what? I'm seeing some of these things too. So now all of a sudden her daughter-in-law starts unloading on her. I didn't expect any of this. I'm just sitting in small group. You asked me how my week's going. I'm gonna be honest with you. Don't ask me that question if you don't want to know the answer. So then all of a sudden her daughter, who's sitting over here, speaks up and says something like, yeah, mom. Now, my heart went out to her at the time because I can only imagine now all of a sudden she probably feels massively attacked. And the thing is I used to live with them at their duplex. I actually became very close friends with her. So the leader of this group was the one who ran the duplex that me and my husband lived at. Her and I became very, very close. But, after this happened, holy crap, it really started changing the dynamic of everything. So anyway, I tried to apologize to her, but I was just like, look, I'm struggling. And she's the small group leader, right? I mean, hopefully she's able to work through it, but hey, we're all human, right? No matter what your leaders are, they still got areas they got to mature in and things they got to work through. And so, it's not always going to be easy, but anyway, so I was like, I gave it some time. I wrote her a letter, tried talking to her. Everybody in the church knew about it at this point. Okay. And now I'm looked at as kind of like a rebel or stirring crap up or whatever, right? I'm not trying to do that. I'm really just trying to understand what the heck's going on here, right? How are we going to thrive as a community if we can't deal with the issues that are going on here, right? We don't publicly humiliate a community and then not apologize, especially if you ended up making a different decision on what you ended up humiliating people for. That really bothered me, you guys. I'm telling you. So anyway, the whole church knows about it. Things are getting super awkward. And I'm like, can you guys, have you ever been, okay, mind you, I've been with these guys for 6 years, right? At this point, 6-7 years. And I'm talking like Sundays, Saturdays. We had prayer and fast 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. We'd get there and meet and pray and fast. We spent so much time together. Small groups, we were so dang connected. We did so much together. We were super tight. So I treated them, they were my closest friends and closest family. I literally loved them more than my own parents. Okay. Like I gave these people my whole heart, my whole life, my whole everything. Completely committed to this group of people. But at the same time, operating in how I operate in relationships with people. And, ever since I was a little kid, if I see something, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not just going to hide stuff underneath the rug. If you have a personal relationship with me, you know that about me. I will be extremely honest with you, and you might not like it at all, but my motive is to have a good relationship with you, right? So there's nothing hidden. Everything is laid out. You know exactly where I stand. We can talk through things. We can work it out and then make a decision from there. Anyway, where was I? The whole church knows about it. And I can tell that I'm like, everyone's kind of disconnecting. I'm feeling disconnected. I'm trying to like reconcile with these guys. So one day, So I think I told you guys the pastor who started in the coffee shop, he ended up moving. He ended up moving north from us. He started like another group up there. So one day he brought the group from up north down to where we were. We had everybody together in the same room at the duplex. We're all having church together. My best friend at the time, who ended up moving, who was owner of the house that we had the home church in that I told you guys about, she was also in the area too because she ended up moving. That's why we ended up getting the duplex because she moved. We ended up getting the duplex after we couldn't do church at her house anymore. Anyway, she shows up. Really happy to see her. She's my best friend at the time. That's a whole nother story. And so she starts reading the Bible, that scripture talking about not lifting up holy hands if you have something against your brother. That broke me. I started crying in front of the church. I was I'm getting emotional talking about it. And I remember thinking, Lord, I am so sorry for how all this has happened in the church. Like, I love these guys. And I did not mean to offend my sister or cause any stuff. I'm just like legit trying to work through these things. I was pouring my heart out. I said, Lord, forgive me for how I treated her. I said this literally out loud in front of like 50 people. I was pouring my heart out, you guys. All of a sudden, the music stops. They look at me, and one of the leaders looked at me and goes, Ashley, shut up. That's manipulation. I was completely taken back. I was like, Lord, I'm sitting here pouring out my heart to these people, trying to reconcile and get these things worked out, understanding something. And all they can say is, I'm manipulating them. I was like, what the heck? I was shocked by that, really. But I didn't leave. You guys, I was still there for like another 2 years after that. Right? So what happens after that? You guys, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop this really fast because I've only got 2 more minutes on the podcast. So you guys bear with me. You guys podcast, I'm going to stop the recording and start another segment because I got to finish this story. All right. So let's go back. All right. That's got to upload for just a second. Let me see. I don't think it's going to let me start another one. It might. Okay. I think it will. All right, guys. So I'm back. This is part 2. So anyway, I confess that to the church and they say, Ashley, that's manipulation. And I was like, oh my God, Lord, I'm so confused right now because I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I'm legit trying to reconcile with these people. They are definitely not seeing me right now. So I stay. I push on because I'm treating church like a family. You guys ever live in a dysfunctional family when they do all kinds of crazy crap and you just stay because you love them, because you know them, because you understand them? Have you ever understood to the point of your own destruction? I did that. Just about. So anyway, that happens. That's kind of one key thing that happened. So then I'm just still trying to talk to the pastor. And he's not listening. He's like, Ashley, this is just the way it is. And I'm just like, crap, this sucks. I'm struggling. I remember going down, taking care of my dad. My stepdad, he found out he had bone cancer. He had liver cirrhosis. I go down there, take care of him. And I'm in a really low place at this point because I'm just like, Lord, I'm so confused. I love these people. I've been with them for 6 years. Like, why don't they trust me? What's going on here? I mean, I've given my whole life to them. I've given my whole mind to them. I've given them everything. And my stepdad at the time, he didn't know the Lord. But he goes, Ashley, what the hell are you doing? He goes, you need to get the hell out of there. Right? Well, here's the thing. You know what I was taught? Let me take a drink of water, guys. I hope you guys are still with me. I don't know how many people are with me still, but I hope y'all are still here. But my dad goes, Ashley, you need to get the hell out of there. Well, I was taught that if you were not in the church, you can't be trusted. So I didn't trust my dad. I didn't listen to him. I knew he was right. I knew I needed to get out of there. But because he wasn't following the Lord, what did he have to offer? Right? He didn't really know the Lord. Why should I listen to him? He's sitting there freaking dying of liver cirrhosis, and I'm supposed to listen to this guy? And not to mention, like I said, we were taught, my church in particular was like, look, no one else is doing it right except for us. So if you guys get my devotional, I talk about, our church, we would outwork you. We were doing the right thing and everyone else was doing everything wrong. So I didn't trust other Christians. Even if you're a Christian, I had other Christians that I was connected with and different others. Like I used to sell Mary Kay and stuff. And there was a lot of Christian women in that group. And, I didn't go to their churches or nothing. And that, yeah, you didn't go to their church. You didn't trust them, right? If they're Christian, nope, they didn't come to the church. They didn't come to our church. And it's funny. I remember one day, side note, and we'll get back into the story. This is relevant. So I have an older brother and we don't talk. That's a whole nother story. He just got out of prison probably back in 2019 for some stuff. Never grew up with him. Like I said, my mom had 5 different men in her life, 5 different siblings. So none of us grew up together. My younger brother and my younger sister, we did. But our older brother and older sister, I didn't meet my older sister till I was 13. She was 19. I didn't meet my older brother till I was 14, 15. And then he was gone. So I've only known him, maybe met him, like seen him twice in my life, a few times. Didn't know him though. Anyway, so as an adult, I don't know how the heck he got a hold of me. I think it was through my older sister as adults, right? He comes out to where I'm at, comes to visit, and he goes to the church. He walks through the door. He was there with me for the day, and he leaves, and he goes, there's a lot of tension there. There's a lot of stress. He goes, I don't think those people are doing very good. Now, mind you, he's never been there in his life. And there had been quite a few people that had left that church. And like I said, I was there for 6-7 years, right? I was there for 8 years. And so my older brother came to the church, probably year 6 or 7, something like that. And he's noticing the tension and he's like, something ain't right here. And I thought that was really funny coming from an outsider. I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, I'm seeing it too, but no one else is seeing it. Because you know what they would say? They're the ones that are screwed up. They don't know what they're talking about. They're wrong. So anyway, let me go back. So after that event happens and I get called a manipulator for asking God to forgive me for how that whole thing went down at small group that night, how I didn't intend for that. And I just want to reconcile and get through these things, this or that. Years go, another year or so goes by. Nothing's happened. Same old same. So the pastor comes down, he comes down again. And he's asking us, he goes, all right, you guys, what's going on here? Their church has not grown in like 10 years. I wonder why. He goes, you guys aren't doing your job. You need to go find you need to go find a fishing hole is what he'd call it. And I'm just sitting there like, I can tell you why this church isn't growing, but you don't want to ask that question. You don't want to talk about that. There's a reason why nobody wants to come here anymore. It's evident. I'm not saying this. I'm thinking this. And it was funny because before we went down there that day, I looked at my husband and I was like, babe, if something happens today, are you cool with me being completely honest? He goes, yeah, babe, whatever you need to do. Of course. Okay, cool. So now I got my husband's blessing, right? Wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't. You just never know what territory you were going to go into that day. Anyway, so he comes down, he's preaching. He gets done preaching. And what they would do is they would separate everybody into women on one side, men on the other side, and ask everybody what they got out of the sermon. I'm like, God, haven't you all learned not to ask me this question? Okay, so I already done sat in the small group. And mind you, the same woman that was running the small group that I had already been honest with is running the group on Sunday. Well, I don't know what they are thinking to ask me the question again and not expect crap to possibly hit the fan. So she asked me. I know she's nervous to ask me this question, but heck, she's got 14 other women sitting there. She's got to do her job. Ashley, what'd you get out of the sermon? Oh, Lord. I said, all right, well, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I said, so-and-so is up there talking about, how we're not supposed to, the church's not growing. We got to find a fishing hole. I said, I don't want to bring anybody here anymore. I said, she goes, what do you mean? I said, we don't care for each other. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, the way that we relate to each other. rude, disrespectful. When she said, "What are you talking about?" She rolled her eyes at me. I said, "That's what I'm talking about. I'm sitting here talking about things that I believe are important as to, if we're trying to build this church, we got to utilize everybody in this body." I said, "I've been here. I've been committed for almost 7, 8 years. I gave you guys my whole life. There are things that are going on here that I believe are not serving the relationships, how we talk to each other, how we disrespect each other, right? Talking behind each other's backs, not solving problems, not addressing things, not taking full responsibility for things, right? And she was shocked that I said that because, like I said, they had opened up this duplex. They had people coming in that were getting out of prison, child molesters, you name it. So they were rehabilitating people as far as giving them a roof over their head and food to eat. But as far as rehabilitating a person relationally and helping them become a good human, as far as communicating, telling each other what you need, addressing conflict in a healthy way, none of that was happening. But to me, that stuff's important, right? Especially if you want to talk about church being a marriage. Well, what's a healthy marriage look like? You got to be able to run those parallels with marriage and the church. So anyway, she's completely shocked. I don't know why she's shocked. We've already been here, done that, sister. Come on, you should know who you're dealing with right now. But I was respectful to her. I was just, the way I'm talking to you guys is the way I was talking to her. So anyway, I said, "I don't want to bring anybody here. I don't want to. I don't want to do this anymore." So, of course, I say my piece. Everybody in the circle has their turn. We get done. Everybody comes up to me and gives me a hug. And every single person that day, all these women, they're like, "Oh my God, Ashley, you said the thing I've been wanting to say for so long." And I'm thinking, come on, man up, grab your balls and say shit. Now, women don't have balls, but I'm just like, say what you need to say. I don't know why you guys have the opportunity, right? But of course, they had already seen what happened the last time. So why would anybody open their mouth now? Well, I don't care. I'm going to open my mouth because I was compelled. I was like, I can't just sit here and not say something. Anyway, so they're all like, "Man, Ashley, thanks for saying that. We really appreciate you saying what we were thinking, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, thanks." And I had this weight off of my chest. I was relieved. I said, "Thank you, God. That's done and over with, right? Now that they really know." So we had lunch. Told my husband what happened because there was some tension still. You could feel it. And I'm like, okay. I knew something was going to happen though. I said, "Babe, I feel a lot better, but I don't think it's over yet." But I said what I needed to say. So we go back down the street to our little 700 square foot home that the pastor was letting me and my husband and 5 kids live in at the time. So all my 5 kids were in one bedroom. Me and my husband were in the other room. It was a little 2-bedroom, little shack place there. He was letting us stay there. He comes down. He goes, "Ashley, if you don't apologize, do not come back." I said, "I don't have nothing to apologize for, dude." I said, "I've been completely honest with you guys." I said, "I've been in your church for 8 years. Gave my life to you guys. Literally. Like, I gave them my mind and everything, y'all." That's the thing about when you're a young Christian and you want to follow the Lord, sometimes, man, you can just give yourself over to people. And that's a whole nother story. That's why I'm writing another book right now about that stuff. But anyway, he goes, "Ashley, if you don't apologize, don't come back." And I said, "I don't have anything to apologize for." I said, "I've been completely honest with you guys about everything." I said, "I'm not going to apologize." So he leaves. I was crushed. I was so relieved because I knew it was over, but I was crushed because I realized that I'd given my life to these people and they did not feel the same way about me that I felt about them. I thought we were a literal, like, committed group of people, right? I mean, I've had conflict with people and we've had to deal with things and they're still in my life. So I thought that, hey, we should be close enough to have these kinds of conversations and it not just completely, everything falls apart now, right? That's what happened. Well, let me back up a little bit. Probably 3-4 months before all this happened, right? Before he came down and said, "If you don't apologize, don't come back." I said, "Lord, please kick me out. I can't do this anymore, God." I said, "Lord, but I don't have the heart to leave." I was more worried about what they were going to say about me as a Christian. "Oh yeah, you're not committed to God. You're just going to leave the church, huh?" Anybody ever hear that? So I was like, "Lord, I am committed to them. I love them. I don't care how freaking retarded they can be at times, or rude or disrespectful or whatever, I do love them and care about them. But I was more worried about what they were going to say about my relationship with the Lord. Oh, you're not committed to the Lord. Like, Lord, I am committed to you 100%. I love you, God. I mean, I've been here for 8 years, and now it's like, I'm ready to die, but I'll stay if this is where you want me to be. But I was like, Lord, I don't have the courage to leave. I can't do it. So I was like, Lord, just kick me out. Well, when that happened, I knew that God was answering my prayer that day. Now you can sit here and say, Ashley, wait a minute. The pastor didn't kick you out. He just said, if you don't apologize, you can't come back. Did you know God always gives you a choice? God always gives you a choice. God gave me a choice that day. And it was funny because after all this happened, right? I called my best friend at the time. I told her what happened. She knew all the stuff that's been going on. She'd been in this church for 20 years. She knew all of this stuff. And they knew it, but they overlooked it because there was nothing that could be done. Okay. But she would talk about it. And that's what was also frustrating to me. We're going to sit here and talk about this problem, and we're going to talk about it amongst ourselves, but we're not going to do anything about it. Do you guys know that's what causes cancer in the body of Christ? That's what causes divisions. Okay. That's what causes the sickness. Is everybody knows there's problems. They talk about it. They don't do anything. This is how factions get developed. All kinds of unhealthy dynamics in churches. This is what happens. So she said she would sit here and she would acknowledge the things that I saw, the things that were unhealthy, that were not good for the church. And she would always talk about it, but nobody ever did anything about it. They would just bear with it, even though they were talking about each other in a way that was like, let's just not talk about each other anymore. Let's just deal with it so we can actually have good relationships with each other. So we don't have to sit here and talk about each other, right? Anyway, so I called my best friend, told her what happened. And she goes, so she calls me, or I call her, I talk to her. She ends up talking to other people in the church. And she goes, Ashley, even if you're right, please just come back. We need you in the church. I was like, then I'm even more pissed. I'm like, wait a second. You know I'm right, and you want me to come back. Are you, I'm at this point. So then I'm confused, right? Because I had no other group to rely on. These were my people. These were my family. Both my parents were dead. These people had walked with me through so much struggle in my life. Gone. Who the freak am I going to talk to now? Right? So a part of me didn't want to leave because I was like, well, I still got close friends there and I don't want to leave them. So then I was like, Lord, I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. It's like, I love these people, but I got to go, Lord. I mean, so then this thought hit me. As I was talking to the Lord, it's Ashley, are you talking to the air? I was like, no, I'm not talking to the air. I'm talking to you, Lord. It's like, okay. Ashley, that moment was very defining for me. I had to start realizing that I had my own personal relationship with the Lord, and I had to start acting upon the things that I believed and knew that He was leading me in. Because for a time, I was a child as a Christian. I had let my whole life be governed by other people in Christ. Now I was in a situation where, and here's the thing, you guys, it was hard for me to see this transition because I had never learned I grew up, you guys, I had a baby at 16 years old. Not only that, my parents were so irresponsible. When I was young, 5, 6, 7, I would set my dad down, my stepdad, big dude, 6'1", 250-pound guy. And I tried to talk to him about how he was going to get these problems solved or what he was going to do, try to calm him down. So I had pretty much been an adult my whole life. So I had never understood the transition of coming out from underneath the guardianship of another person and walking in my own authority. I didn't know what the heck that was. Now all of a sudden I'm in this transition in this point in my life where things have massively changing, and I have to make a decision. Am I going to remember all the prayers that I've prayed, knowing I've been talking to God for at this point, it was 8 years. Now, like I said, we've been doing home church for 9. This is a 17-year process, you guys. And I have to start living out what I believe the Lord's having me do. So at that moment, I was becoming an adult. It was like, all right, you know what, you guys, I got to make my own decisions for me now. I love you guys, but I can't stay here anymore. I had to start believing that God was leading my own life now, right? I had prayed, things have happened. Here I was in this situation, right? So I was like, I'm not talking to the air. So I called my best friend. I said, look, I love you. And I totally understand what you're saying. I know, you guys, I knew I brought a lot of value to the church. I've always been the encourager in the church. I could pour into people, no problem. Like I'm pouring into you guys right here. I could get me in a small group of people. All right. That's what I've always done. I love doing it. But I wasn't going to compromise anymore, seeing bad things happen and nothing be done about it. I couldn't operate in unhealthy dynamics anymore because it was making me depressed. I didn't even know I was depressed. When I was down taking care of my dad, oh God, I was spiraling so bad. I didn't even know what was going on. And then after I've read so many books over these last 9 years, I finally reflected on that time period. I said, wow, I was depressed. This is how you know you're depressed. When you believe things will never change. I had completely accepted the fact that things were never going to change. And oh my God, I was feeling so helpless as a result. It's like I wanted to be there and I really believed things were never going to change. And I didn't have, at the time, I didn't have like any of the tools I have now to navigate that. It was like crash course, baby. It was hard. But anyway, so after that happened, right? After the pastor leaves, my husband looks at me and he goes, babe, I'm taking full responsibility for you guys spiritually. He's like, we are never going to go through that again. He's like, I am going to lead you guys. And I was excited and I was absolutely terrified all at the same time. Because I had built my whole reputation being in the church. And now I'm not going to be in the church. And it was funny because I remember we moved and I can't remember the book I was reading. But I was terrified to do home church. I was terrified to follow my husband on this. I was like, well, Lord, what are they going to think? They're going to think we're church hurt. They're going to think that we don't want to follow you. All these people are going to think this. And I looked back on that and it was all stemming from the wound that I had or the injury of worrying about what people think. That had been my whole life. And it was like, I realized after that situation happened, I had to start repairing the trust with my husband because when we were in the church, people would say all kinds of horrible things about my husband, Scott, because, at the time we were living in the travel trailer, we were living here, we needed their help. And they would say stuff like, he's not doing his job as a husband. And I'm thinking, dude, I've been with this man since I was 15. He's always taken care of us. It's unfortunate we're in this situation, but, we knew at the time God was leading us through certain things, through this difficulty that we didn't want to go through. But at the time, we had no other choice. Do you guys look for God in your circumstances? Right? When the economy crashed in 2009 and I've got baby number 3 and I made a commitment to stay home with my children and our lease is up and somebody says, hey, you guys can come stay with us till you get on your feet. I'm like, okay, Lord, you open that door for me. Right? And he did. But people were getting resentful of the help that they were giving, even though they were in a very humble situation themselves. Isn't it funny how that works? When me and my husband moved into the duplex, there was 2 meters on each side. Water meter, power meter, right? We moved in there. Guess what? They were fixing to turn the water off there. You know how much the power bill was and the water bill? Over $700. Well, my husband had just done a job and made, I don't know, probably like over $1,000. Right? So you know what me and my husband did? We paid for all of that. You want to know why? Because we weren't going to move into a place. We're at their mercy. They're letting us stay there. And we were going to have our own kids there. You think we want to live in a place with no power and water? So we're like, dude, their church is helping us out right now. So we're going to pay for that. So we did. We took care of it. The 2 people that were running the duplex, neither one of them had jobs. So we were helping each other out. But at the time, they didn't see it that way. They didn't see as us being God's grace to each other. They had the physical house. We had some resources, right? For my husband's job. It wasn't like a bunch of money because the duplex, the mortgage part of it was being paid for by another person. So the mortgage was taken care of by the pastor's mother. She had literally bought this duplex. She was covering all of that. But as far as the utilities, that was supposed to be on the church. Well, neither one of them had jobs because they're running the duplex. So me and my husband move in there and we're helping out them, paying for stuff. Right. So then when we were in the travel trailer, the two people that owned that house, they were living off of soup and bread trying to sell metal buildings. Their water heater went out. They didn't have no money for it. It was $400. You know who bought a water heater for them? My husband did. Because we moved in there, he started getting more jobs. So my husband, we just do what we do. We're helping them out. We were grateful they gave us a place to live. We weren't going to sit there and, we need what they have. We're not going to watch them struggle. Bought him water heater, bought him groceries, gave him 420 something bucks a month. The point is we were both in a very humble situation. We were God's grace to each other at that moment. They needed a place. They needed help financially. They had a roof, but they needed a little more money. They were struggling. And so we helped each other and it was beautiful. And so anyway, that's how we got started with home church. My husband decided he was going to be the primary influence in our life. And so, I got invited to another church. I remember probably a couple months after this happened. And you guys, my heart was hurting. I needed to be healed. I needed to be recovered. My whole life had just completely changed. I was relieved and I was grieving. I was hurting. And so I went into the church that she went into, and it was a big church. And I would go there, and I knew I wasn't my normal self because usually, when I'm in a good place, I like to talk to people. I like to ask them how they're doing. I'm very kind of outgoing in that way. I wasn't doing any of that. I'm like, I wanted to be in a place where I could kind of absorb from people. Nobody really talked to us when we were there. Nobody asked us how we were doing or what our story was. You guys, this church had like 500-600 people in it. And I'm like, I can't do this, Lord. I cannot do this right now. This is too much for me. I needed someone to pour into me. I needed time to heal. I needed all of that. And I'll tell you what, the time that we've had the last 8 years did that for me. And I remember being so frustrated. I was like, Lord, because like I said, I was terrified to follow the leadership of my husband on this, like doing home church and stuff, right? I knew it was the right thing to do because it was like, that's what I wanted to do. We needed to get some healing. I mean, how amazing is it when your husband is initiating this and you're having church in your house? Like, God is not just out here. It's like, dude, God's in the home. Like, duh, this is what we live for. This is great. I'm excited about this. But I was struggling because my reputation as a Christian was in being in the church and doing all the things that these people wanted me to do. I didn't know how to be my own person at the time and actually just appreciate my own journey, my own story, anything like that. And so, I remember sitting there one day talking to the Lord about it. And it was just like, I was thinking about worrying about the only thing I was occupied with in my mind was worrying about what other people were going to think about me doing home church, right? Oh, they're going to judge, whatever. And I just remember, the thought hit my mind. It's like, Ashley, you have to go through this. This is the only way you're going to learn not to, worry and occupy yourself with what other people think. And it was very painful, but I had to just surrender to it. I'll have to find what I was reading that God used to kind of bring that revelation into my mind. I'll look for it sometime. It's actually, I told you guys I'm working on another book right now. It's referenced in that other book. But yeah, that's how we got started, you guys. And holy crap, I can't believe I've been here for an hour. I hope you guys are still with me. I hope you guys appreciate my story. This is raw. This is vulnerable. This is my life. And this is why we do home church. We do it twice a month. And then we've been going to another church 2 times a month because we love people. We want to connect with people. It's just, we're not going to like blindly go in there and do what we did before when we were super young and vulnerable, right? We're adults now. We're kind of looking like, what do we need? What can we bring here? What can we bring to the table of the body of Christ? Because we believe we have a lot of value. We carry a lot of value. We believe we can bring that into a church. So now just trying to find connecting with other people that see the value that we carry and saying like, hey, we could use you here, right? And so on Sunday, you guys, I'm going to be singing Goodness of God for a church that we've been going to twice a month. It was funny. I was sitting there one Sunday, only the second time I've been there. And the girl goes, hey, you want to come sing with us in the choir? Went and did that. And then they heard me sing Goodness of God one time. And they're like, bro, you need to lead that song. Okay, sure. So that was really exciting for me, you guys. So we're going to hang around there and see what happens. I actually asked the pastor if he would let me borrow a room in his church building so I could make my small group kind of more of a local sort of, thing. I don't mind inviting people to my house, but I'm not going to put my public information on Facebook, y'all. Heck to the nah. I ain't doing it. But if I can have a public place where I can meet with people and we can have a small group, any woman who's in the area wants to come, that would be awesome. So I'm waiting on him to get back with me about that, to let me know if that's what he wants to do. And then I'll let you guys know if that's going to be an open door. But you guys, I think I should stop there today. I think I've told you enough. I think I've been on here for a whole hour. And you guys, I'm going to save all the stuff I was going to share with you guys. So I was going to read to you guys today out of my book, Day 91, God is not a liar. Why don't I believe it? You know what I'll do? I'll take a couple pictures of what I wrote and I'll post it on here. And if it's something that you guys want to get your hands on, let me know. And I'll read it to you guys next time I get on here and go live. It won't be until next Wednesday. So it'll, be about a week from now. Like I said, my husband's going to be off work. So I'm going to be hanging out with him at home. We're going to change oil in my truck, mow the lawn, maybe go in the pool once or twice. I don't know. The weather's finally starting to cool down out here. But I got a bunch of posts scheduled. So you guys continue to, check out the content. 335 podcast episodes. You guys, a brand new one releases tomorrow. Be sure to check it out. Daily Encouragement with Ashley Campbell. It's on Spotify, iTunes, Google Cast. Look up Daily Encouragement with Ashley Campbell podcast. And you can find it on just about any other platform that, hosts podcasts. So look me up, Daily Encouragement with Ashley Campbell. The podcast is not the same as the videos on here. I got to make that clear. Some people think that the videos are the podcast. No, the podcast is separate. I started recording the podcast on video so you guys could see me more. All right. But there is so much content on there that you guys haven't heard yet. All right. So you guys be sure to check that out. I got a ton of videos on here you guys can catch up on. Like I said, I got a bunch of scheduled posts that you guys can, tons of content. And I just thank you guys for being here. You guys are amazing. Like I said, God brought 2,000 people to this page in 14 days. That's really incredible. And I pray that everything I talk to you guys about resonates with you, gives you some encouragement, some insight, and that you guys can grow and pour out the grace God's poured in you. That's all I'm doing. I'm sharing my grace. You guys get out and share yours. All right. So you guys, I'm going to stop this podcast. Thank you guys for listening today. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of the day, and I will return next week. All right. So Wisdom, I'm still with you. Facebook, I'm still with you. Podcast is done. I was not really planning on this today, but I think that's just what the Lord had. I was listening to a podcast that I did kind of talking about the old church, and I thought, Lord, nobody really knows our story. There's a lot of new people on here, and I just want to communicate with you guys. I told you, I want you guys to know who the heck you're following on here, right? I think that's important. Transparency, authenticity, being genuine is very important to me. And so that's what you're going to get if you follow Daily Encouragement with Ashley Campbell. So, what does she say? You're describing what an abusive marriage looks like. The body of Christ is made up of people from all different churches and denominations, not just one specific congregation. I would hazard to guess you were in a false church that indoctrinated you. Your heart was pure, but theirs was not. That church was a foundational stepping stone for you to be able to move on someday, but you needed that foundation to grow on. You finally were able to recognize the control manipulation. Absolutely, Dee Dee. And that's why I'm so grateful. I remember when all this happened, I was crushed. And I said, Lord, I don't think I'm ever going to recover from this. My heart was so broken. And then the Lord reminded me of a time in my life where I went through a difficult situation with somebody and God reconciled it. And it just brought peace to my heart. Like it was just remembrance of Ashley. You've been down this road before. I've helped you here. I'm going to help you over here. And that's exactly what he's done. And so you guys, it took me probably about 3 years to heal from that situation. Oh man, it was crazy. But you know what? I would not be able to share with you on the depth that I can share with you if I hadn't gone through that. I used to think that I will never be thankful for this situation, Lord. Well, got him. God got me, bro. All right. Let me check out the rest of the comments, you guys. Tammy's on here. Heidi's on here. Your daughter's birthday is October 23rd. That's awesome. Yep. Mine's the 22nd. So my son is going to be 17. Holy crap. So I have a son that's 21. My other son's going to be 17, October 10th. And then my daughter's going to be 15 on October 18th. I'm going to be 38 on October 22nd. And my youngest son is going to be 8 on October 25th. He is the last birthday of the house. Praise the Lord for that. Oh, man. Okay. Tammy, Heidi, let's see here. yeah, let's see here. I wish I could. Here's the comments. Okay. Your daughter's an alcoholic. Most daughter who's 37 years old, and finally she's sober 5 months. I'm proud of her. Absolutely. Here, you guys will be very surprised on my view of alcohol, even though I've had alcoholic parents. I don't abstain from it because they drank. I'm not afraid of alcohol. That is a whole nother conversation. I say that because sometimes what happens in people's minds when they hear stories like mine, my stepmother died from alcohol. My biological mother died from alcohol. And my stepdad, my stepmom, and my biological mother. My biological father died from a heart attack. He was like 60 years old. I'm not really sure what it was. He wasn't in my life. I was a secret life. I told you guys that. He had a vasectomy. He didn't think he could have children. Here I am, baby. Anyway, but a lot of people think that just because my parents were alcoholics that, oh, I just don't touch it at all because I'm afraid. No, I'm not afraid of alcohol. I don't put myself in that situation. Do I have drinks? Yes. Do I drink all the time? No. I have drinks on the weekends. I don't have a lot of drinks on the weekends, but I do have drinks on the weekend. I have brought all of this to the Lord. And, so I guess what I'm saying is I wasn't going to make decisions in my life based upon there could be fear. Oh my gosh, it's in your blood, Ashley, alcoholism and all this stuff. I do understand that. But I was like, you know what? Let's try to understand what is the root cause of alcoholism. What are people really looking for? I think I told you guys, man, I still wasn't planning on being on here, but whatever. I think everything's okay. If you guys are still with me, I got another quick story for you. So, probably about 2-3 years ago, I was super stressing out about how I was going to get money for something. As usual. Have you guys seen my old videos about stressing about where I was going to get money to get my book published? Where I was going to get money for my commercial? God bought both of that, by the way. Anyway, but have you ever stressed about something so much and then God brings it? And you're like, oh crap, why did I stress about it? And then you still stress about the same old thing you always stress about. Okay, that's me with money. And I remember this thought crossed my mind one day, and I knew it was the Lord. And it was, Ashley, why do you trust money more than you trust me? And I was like, holy crap, Lord, I don't know. That's a really great question. Why do I trust money more than I trust you? Have you guys ever found security in something? Okay, so this is where I'm going with it. And I was like, I never thought about that, Lord. And I'm not afraid to acknowledge that kind of stuff because I know the truth will set me free. If I can acknowledge the truth of where I'm at, God's going to give me insight and understanding as to where that came from. Here's what happened, right? That thought hits my mind. I realized that I'm trusting in money more than I'm trusting God. And I'm like, well, where'd that come from? Why do I do that? And he brought memories to my mind. And this is what God will do for you. If you actually are really serious about this healing journey, which if you get my book, Nuggets of Truth, okay, it's going to walk you guys through some stuff. All right, it's going to help you. I talk about this stuff in the book. But he started bringing memories to my mind of when I was growing up. Both my parents were very inconsistent, right? My mom was not emotionally available. My stepdad, my biological dad was not physically in my life at all. I was a secret life. But he sent my mom child support every single month until I was 18. Faithfully. $366 a month. Well, guess what? That brought a lot of security to my little heart as a 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up from by the time basically I can be conscious of being a human. I'm going to probably say at least starting around 3, 4, 5 years old, probably at least 5. That money brought me peace because I knew that, okay, if my mom has money, she can pay the bills. She can do these things. I've never learned to rely on a person's character, on their consistency, on them being responsible, being faithful. I never learned any of that crap as a kid. Are you kidding me? So that's why people struggle with physical things. Mine at the time was money, relying on a physical thing to try to solve an emotional problem. That is exactly why alcoholics struggle the way they do. Let me tell you something. My dad, my stepdad, when I was taking care of him, he, right before he died, he goes, Ashley, I never knew that this is where my life was going to go. He was like, I said, well, what, Dad, what do you think was like the number one thing that got you in this situation? He goes, no one ever taught me how to deal with stress. So if we can look at things that people struggle with that they lean on. If you've got a person in your life who's leaning on a physical thing, money, playboys, okay? Like physical things that they consistently have in their life. You know what that is? Because they've never had any of those other things I just told you about. They don't have that emotional connection. They don't have that understanding of solving problems, right? They've never had a faithful being in their life. So they rely on something physical to solve an emotional problem, but you can't do that. Do you guys see where that's kind of oxymoron? It's an emotional issue. You got to get down to what's underneath of those things that are going on. So I wanted to say that to you guys just in case you had an expectation of me. Well, Ashley's parents were alcoholics. I mean, I know she doesn't drink any alcohol at all. Not true. Okay. I do, you guys, I drink Truly's, seltzer water. All right. So I do. And I want to let you guys know that just in case you're like, wait a second, Ashley drinks alcohol and therefore I can't follow her, then don't. I mean, I want you guys to know exactly where I stand on everything. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a problem with alcohol. Okay. Me and my husband like to have a couple drinks on the back porch, listen to music, have a conversation. We have, a couple other friends that will have drinks with us periodically. So it's more of like does anybody ever like, I don't know, I dance more, get a little bit more loose, I suppose. Uh-oh. Sorry, you guys. And so, that's all it is for me. It's not like this, oh my God, my life's so shitty right now. I'm just gonna go grab a beer. Do I have family members in my life like that? Yes. Why? Because they're not dealing with the things that are driving the situation. They're not solving the real problems. And I know that for a fact. Because it takes courage to dig into your heart, to dig into the things that are driving your life and ask really tough questions. How would you respond if God asked you guys, if you were courageous enough to ask the question, if this is something you struggle with, God is going to work with you in the context of your real life, okay? He's not, whatever's going on with me is not what's going on with you. You have to be able to face your own struggles with the Lord, all right? In whatever capacity that's going to look like. For me, worrying about money has been something that I literally grew up in my whole stinking life. But I did not understand where that came from. Figure out what your biggest struggle is right now. What is it? Don't talk to me about it. I don't got the right questions to ask. I don't know your life story, but God has been with you ever since then. You get serious. Get a notebook. Write down your struggles. If you're a Christian, you got the Holy Spirit, ask God. Pay attention to the thoughts he's going to bring into your mind. Pay attention to the memories he's going to bring to you. Start getting comfortable with the soil of your own life and the things that you've been through. Lord, why do I do that? Think about something that you do that you consistently don't like doing, or something you're struggling with, something you're hurting, something that's holding you back. No matter what it is. Lord, where did that come from? Why am I struggling right now? I told you guys, remember when I asked the Lord, why do I care so much about what people think? You want to know what happened that day? So I'm sitting on the side of my bed. This was like 2016. And there's another story behind that, you guys. Should I tell? Sure. Another story. So back in 2016, I've got my mom's ashes, my stepdad's ashes, my stepdad's dad's ashes, and my mom's ashes. We've got 4 people we're going to lay to rest. My mom, my stepdad, my grandfather, and my stepmom. And, I'm going to call him my grandfather or my step-grandpa. He's not my blood, but whatever. He had died like in 2004. This is 2016, 15, 14, 13, 12 years, bro. Waiting, right? Just lay this thing to rest. Anyway, finally, I call up my siblings. I call my brother. I call my older sister. And I called my grandma. I called the family. I said, look, we need to get mom's ashes laid to rest and everybody else. Let's meet out at the ocean because that's where she wanted to go. So the night before we did that, we're sitting on the back porch together. We're playing apples to apples. Anybody ever play apples to apples? It's actually a really fun game. So we're sitting back playing apples to apples. I've got a 6-pack of, what was it, Angry Orchard or whatever? Yeah, that's what I was drinking at the time, Angry Orchard. I don't drink it so much anymore. It's got too much sugar in it. But anyway, so I drank a 6-pack of Angry Orchard. My brother's sitting over there. He's a whiskey guy. And He was having a good time, bro. I'll just say that. But we were laughing our butts off. We were playing games. We were having a really good time. Get up the next day. And my brother started making comments about Christians. Yeah, Christians are just hypocrites. They do one thing and they don't do another. And and I'm just like, I started taking everything he said extremely personal because I'm a Christian. Have you ever over-identified with what somebody was saying? Like they're saying something to you and you think they're talking to you, but they're not talking to you, but you like think they are. Anyway, so he's sitting there saying all that, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, thinking about me, like, oh my gosh, okay, well, I was just having drinks with them last night, and am I being a good example? And like thinking about all this stuff. So finally one day I was like, Lord, why do I care so much about what people think? I know that I'm not what my brother said. I know that I am not any of these things that people could think. Why do I care so much? Why is this bothering me so bad? And it just hit me, Ashley, because you've internalized man's judgments of you. What? What was that? Lord, what did you just say to me? I had to write that down. Internalized man's judgments of me. I had to unpack that, you guys. Holy moly. Did you know my whole conscience at one point was built upon other people's judgments of me? Do you know how you internalize a man's judgments of you? Oh, here comes my youngest daughter, you guys. I've been on here for an hour. She's been hanging real tight, so I could understand why she's coming in. What do you need, baby? I'm almost done, Bear, I promise. I know she's standing right there. I can hear the door. Anyway, so I did not know what it meant to internalize man's judgments, but basically, over time, what's internalize mean? To take into man's, somebody else, judgments. What's a judgment? A conclusion. You know what I did? I took everybody's conclusions of me, internalized them, and that was forming my conscience. I told you guys before, the very beginning of this video, I didn't learn how to become an adult as an adult. How many of you are an adult but don't like understand the process of how you became an adult? Like what's the distinction between an adult and a child? They make decisions, right? But adults also have their own values. They have their own they know their motivations, all those things that kids don't really understand about themselves yet. I didn't know any of that. And I told you guys, well, maybe not all of you guys, because you guys are new on here, right? We're talking like 2,000 people in 14 days. So some of you don't know this. But when I was, I just lost Wisdom app. But when I was, so when the Lord showed that to me, I asked him, Lord, where did that come from? Like, what happened in my life where I started internalizing man's judgments and making that more of a priority for me? And so check this out. He brought a memory to my mind. I'm telling you guys, you got to do this work. It's going to change your life. You got to get my book, Nuggets of Truth. It's going to help you. I promise. If this is helping you, my book will help you. You just got to do the work. You literally have to answer the questions that are in the book. If you don't answer the questions, then I don't know what to tell you, bro. You ain't gonna get very far. Anyway, I digress. Where was I? Okay, Lord, where did that way of behaving come from? Right? So then I was sitting at my kitchen table one day, and this memory, as I was talking to the Lord about this out loud, this memory popped in my mind when I was a kid. And one day I came home from school. I was like 6 years old. Did you guys know all your beliefs are formed by age 7? You got to get my book. I talk about it. Sorry, I keep giving plugs for the book, but I'm proud of this book, man. The Lord helped me write this book, and he provided the money for it, and it's out in the world for a reason. Anyway, I'm just passionate about it, okay, you guys? Some people don't like that. Oh my God, she's trying to sell herself. Whatever. I'm just giving the value that God has put in me, and I want you guys to have it so you guys can uncover yours, and you guys can do what I'm doing. You guys can pass out the grace God's brought into your life. That is the mission of Daily Encouragement, that you guys would do that. But you got to understand the soil of your own life. You've got to be comfortable talking about your life. You've got to understand how God's grace is connected with the very shame hole that you find yourself in. And if you can't do that, it's really hard to minister to somebody. Okay? Anyway, so I'm sitting there. Memory comes to my mind. I'm 6 years old, coming home from school. And my mom goes, Ashley, have you been talking to people at the school? Now, mind you, I told you, both my parents were alcoholics. My stepdad used to beat my mom's ass like every single night. Like I used to watch my stepdad take my mom's head, pound it on the freaking dresser. You guys ever watch your mom get beat like that? It's super stressful for a kid. And I just remember gosh, I'm so tired of listening to screaming and yelling. And I called the cops on my dad. My dad used to call me the cop caller. Even when I was, even after I became an adult, he was like, Ashley, remember I used to call you the cop caller? I said, oh yeah, I remember that, Dad. Anyway, so I finally decided when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, I'm going to start talking to the school about this because I was not getting any help, right? My mom wasn't doing anything about it, and I was super stressed. I started talking to the teachers at school about what was going on, and I was feeling better. You guys ever just talk to somebody about something, get crap off your chest, and you're like, man, I'm really glad I got that out, right? That's all you needed to do. Just get that out. So I talked to him. No motive for anything. I just wanted to feel better. So anyway, come home from school. Mom goes, Ashley, you've been talking to people to school? Yeah. She goes, if you continue doing that, did you know that they're going to call CPS and they're going to take you away and you're probably going to go get molested at a foster home? What the hell? Well, no, heck nah. I knew what molestation was when I was 5 years old. I knew what other things were, but I'm not going to say that on here right now. I knew way too much about stuff when I was super young. Okay. My mom dropped way too many bombs on me as a young kid. Don't tell your kids information that they don't have the capacity to talk about. And you should not be talking about super sexual, intimate things with your 5-year-old kid about what y'all be doing up in the bedroom. Okay. My mom used to do that with me, unfortunately. No wonder I had a baby at 16. Ha! Anyway, I digress. So where was I? So my mom says that. And I'm thinking, well, holy crap. If I continue to solve my problems my way. Now, mind you, I didn't understand this as a kid. This is all coming to me as insight as an adult when I'm asking God, Lord, why do I care about what people think about me? This is all rooted in this stuff. So that memory comes to my mind. And God was showing me what was going on at the time. The conclusions that I was making that I didn't know I was making, right? As a kid, they don't understand that. But as an adult, I could reflect on that. And I had learned at that moment that if I was to solve my own problems my way, it was going to cause way more problems for me down the road. So you know what I did? I cut off all my own discernment and I started asking, well, what the heck do I need to do here? What do I need to do for you to help you solve your problems? Because my problems as a child were not being solved. But now I realized that the way I was solving my problems was going to create more jeopardy for me at the time. I did not want that. I was already stressed out enough as a kid. And I didn't want to leave my mom. I never want to be away from my mom. I love my mom. And I sure the hell wasn't going to go to a foster home and get molested by some sicko either. So it was safer for me just to go. So that's what I did. I kept my mouth shut. And then I became codependent. What's codependent? When your peace is dependent upon somebody else. So what did I do? All right, well, what do I need to do for this person then? I got to get their head out of their ass because they're apparently ain't doing it. I started solving other people's problems to make myself feel better. Not because I wanted to go about it that way, but I learned that as a kid. And then I took that crap with me into adulthood. That's a whole nother story, you guys. But I'm just saying, start asking God about the things that you're struggling with. Get out a pen and paper. I want you to do something. Get up at I don't care, 20 minutes early every day if you have to. You guys, I get up at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday, except for tomorrow. I don't have to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. I'll probably get up at 7. I always at least get up an hour before my kids do. All right. So my sleep in time is at least 7 o'clock. Praise the Lord. 5 is early, baby. My son had to get up at, my older son had to be up at 4 this morning. So he's the champ today for that. But anyway, where was I? So once I realized that, and I shared with you guys in a little podcast reel I did today, I was able to give myself a lot of mercy and compassion, understanding for myself. You guys do this for yourself, it's going to change your life. Then you can help change other people's lives because you understand the dynamics that have formed certain people's behaviors and attitudes and actions that you struggle watching. You're like, dude, why are you such a dumbass? Well, now you know because you walked through the process yourself, right? We can be really quick to judge people. But if we understand our own story and our own struggles and have these insights to ourselves as to the dynamics that shaped us, the way you grew up, the things that you heard, the things that you repeatedly heard, the things that you repeatedly went through, right? It's going to change your life. And if you guys get my book, Nuggets of Truth, it's going to help you do that. So anyway, you guys, I hope that this was a helpful video. It was a super long. I don't even know if a lot of people are going to watch it, but look, I had 16 people on here today, you guys. You guys are amazing. I really support I really appreciate all your guys' support on here. Truly. That's why I love doing live video. I love talking to you guys in real time. And so thank you guys for being here. I got to get my butt off here. I got to go braid my daughter's hair and I got to go do some other stuff. But I will be back next Wednesday, you guys. No live video Friday. I do have stuff that's going to be posting. Let me post the book link really, really quick. Okay. If anybody wants to buy my book, I will mail it to you today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a better day. Whatever orders I get today, because I have to go pick my husband up today. I got a lot of running around to do, you guys. I have to go when my son gets home this afternoon at 2:30. I got to go take him to get his car that's been in the shop. And then I got to leave here at 4 and go pick up my husband. So you would have to like get your order in like super. I have to leave here at 1:15. You'd have to get your order in like within the next few minutes. And I could go down to the post office today, but definitely tomorrow, you guys. So let me go ahead and click on this really fast. I'm getting distracted because I'm trying to talk to you guys and post this at the same time. But if anybody wants to order it for me, I got 4 signed copies left. Once I get these 4 signed copies sold, I'm going to order some more, at least 20 to 30 more. My goal is 30 more copies. And then you guys can order some more as soon as I get more. I only have 4 left, but I got to order more books, but I got to pay for them. They're $10 a piece, right? So that's why if you guys order for me, if you guys order on Amazon, like that's cool. I appreciate it, but I only make $3.74 a book on Amazon. That means I have to literally sell 3 books in order to buy one. So if you guys go directly for me, it's $24.99, right? Plus you got to buy the bubble mailer and pay for the media, but I don't charge you guys. I'm only charging you what I have to pay to get the bubble mailer and what is needed for the media mail. Media mail is $4.65. I'm not even charging you full price for media mail because it just went up. It was $4.35. Now it's up to $4.65. I didn't change the price for that. All right. So when you buy from me, that $24.99, 10 of that is going to go towards buying more books and paying for the shipping. And then you just put $10 in my pocket, right? That's helping me buy milk and, all that kind of crap I got to get too. And I really appreciate you guys. Truly. I really do. It's really been life-changing for me. And so if anybody wants to buy a copy, there's the link. Message me too. You guys can message me on here. And, but if you want to go through Amazon, that's cool. But going through me is better. And the back of each book, you guys, there's something I write in the back. And this is a really powerful question that's in the back of the last 4 signed copies I got. And I think I'm going to write it in the next 20 or 30 too, because it's a question that I could probably still unpack myself. And this is the question that the Lord gave me. What do you need to become aware of in God to close the gap of the lack you perceive in your life? Isn't that powerful? That will be signed with my wonderful signature and that question written in the back of the book for you to meditate on and ask God about. Isn't that amazing? So good, you guys. You're going to love it. So, all right. I'm seriously getting off here. I've told you my whole life story. Not really, but a lot of it. You guys heard a lot of my story today. So, you guys, thank you for sharing the video. Thank you for sharing all the videos. That's the other thing I will say. I've had a couple of Christians on here. Oh, my God. Why are you showing an interview with Tucker Carlson and Larry talking about so-and-so's sex life? You want to know why I talk about that kind of stuff? Because God has given us this earth to rule and subdue. If we're not aware of the things that are going on, how the heck are you going to make a good decision? Did you know God has made us responsible to make decisions? And in order to do that in a good way, you got to have information. I'm just sharing information that I believe people need to know. And, I do talk God and government on here from time to time. When I get fired up, you guys, not every video is going to be about that. Only periodically. 90% of my content is going to be God-centered, talking about what the Lord's doing in my life, giving you guys stuff. But everything's connected. God is in government. Did you know God desires for his people to be in government positions? How many times can you reflect in the Bible where God had people in government positions? King David. Think about Daniel working around with the king there. Different governors. Our own foundation in the United States. Shall I go on? Did you know God actually desires for his government to be represented through us in everything that we do? Do you think we should not be aware of these things? We're going to be aware of these things. If you follow me, I'm going to do my best to, keep up with it. I'm not going to make it all about this page. This page is about what God's doing in my life, trying to share that with you guys to spur you guys on, give you insight, give you encouragement to get, like I said, uncovering the grace of God in your own life, right? But there's also things that we as adults have to deal with, right? There's world things going on. We need God helping us in the world events. Do we not? So anyway, I'm not going to get off on that tangent right now. But if you don't appreciate that, I don't know what to tell you. All right. This is who I am, baby. Take me or leave me. If you don't like it, I don't know what to say. I'm just being completely honest with you guys. And if you don't like honesty this raw, then I'm definitely not the person to follow. All right. So I love you guys. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Super grateful for every single person on here. I hope you guys have a, like I said, wonderful rest of the week. I'm going to go ahead and post one more link, you guys. And some people are probably going to be like, oh my God, Ashley, why are you sharing this? I created a link. If any of my followers want to send me a financial donation because you appreciate what I'm doing, you can do that. $10. I have had a couple followers ask me if I had a link, I sent it to them. And I've had wonderful people send me some money since I've been doing this, and it's been great. It's helped me out tremendously, right? I had one lady a couple months ago send me a $50 money order, and I went and bought groceries with it, you guys. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that God puts it on people's heart to help me. And so, I thank you for that. So if anybody wants to, cool. If you don't, I don't care. You don't have to, right? If you want to, buy my book, right? That's all. So I just appreciate the people out there who watch what I, listen to what I have to say, share the videos, bought my book, just you guys being here, commenting, supporting. It's wonderful. And I really hope that it's empowered you guys. Ultimately, that is the goal here, is for you to be encouraged, empowered, and share the grace of God in your life. Talk to people about what God's doing in your life. Understand your life. Ask God. Get a notebook, get a paper, write stuff down. What are you struggling with right now? Write it down. Ask God to help you understand how those things were formed in your life. He will bring you memories to your mind. And then ask God to give you the grace and mercy you need to grieve it, to accept it, to face it. You guys, healing is not an easy thing, but it's most essential. You cannot heal the world if you've not been healed. So let God heal you. All right? All right, you guys, I love you so much. I will see you guys next Wednesday. And I hope you have an awesome rest of the week.